Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 337 for March 26, 2024. I am your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Mississippi Raiders are kicked out of the AIF. There are a number of new rule changes in the NFL, and the Arena Football League commissioner wants to sign Johnny Manziel to a contract. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Boy, we were talking before we hit record about how this was going to be, you kept saying all day it was going to be a slow news day.
Yeah, I had nothing
Didn't
on
have
the
much
NFL
of a script.
news. One or two little things from the NFL, and all of a sudden, all these things from the
Oh, yeah.
owners' meetings and
Yeah,
competition committee.
And who knows what else will drop while we're sitting
ton
here.
of stuff today. I probably didn't get it all, but we've got a ton to talk
We
about.
got a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir. All right, we come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, and that would be Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will find many other selected videos on our YouTube channel, like history lessons, travelogues, Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast featuring Adam and Kyle, which episode 28 was posted just the other day.
We dropped an episode last week. I worked on getting this show up last Tuesday.
Right.
Kyle and I the night before, then I went and recorded with Kyle right after we got done recording our show. So very busy Tuesday.
And then you did a movie podcast that day also.
Well, I had that already in the can.
Okay, but you posted
I posted three things.
Three YouTube videos in one evening. I don't know how.
Am I the hardest working man in podcasting? I don't know, but I do quite a lot, and my girlfriend hasn't broken up with me yet over it, so I think I got the balance down. I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
No, the other shoe just hasn't dropped yet. And we also have a show called Have Grave Will Travel, which is where we go around and we visit gridiron graves.
Yeah, you got one in the can that I just haven't gotten to still.
Yep, that's been in the can. I think the can is rusty now because the can has been there for quite some time.
And I'm sure you got some other grave visits planned this year. We'll have to figure that out.
Yes, do have a few that I'm looking at doing this summer when the weather gets a little bit better. Yeah. All right, so let's begin today's show, and we're going to start with news from the NFL. Two members of the cast of Good Morning Football on NFL Network have said goodbye. Jamie Erdahl, I guess is how you pronounce her name. She's her last day was last Thursday, I think, and she's off to have a baby. She was extremely pregnant in that video I saw. But she's going to return to the show in Los Angeles this fall. So she's the first one of the four that I've heard of that is actually going to move to California to stay on the show.
I'm happy she's at least sticking around. She's like, after Kay Adams left, I thought that'd be a big, seat to fill. And I think, Jamie's been a great addition. I like watching her, hearing her thoughts. She seems very knowledgeable. So, I'm glad she's at least sticking around.
Yeah. And then a day or so later, Peter Schrager said goodbye to the show. So I assume he's not coming back to the show.
See, I interpreted, we talked about this before, I interpreted his thing saying, is his last show in New York. Maybe it was more open-ended about going out to L.A., because, that's where Fox is. He works for Fox.
Right. Well, maybe he hasn't made up his mind yet.
Maybe he hasn't. Who knows? But that'll be interesting to see what he does, because he does so much else for the NFL. It's hard for me to see him not doing the show out in L.A., so
well,
who knows?
Maybe he's just going to take a look at other opportunities that might come his way.
Maybe something else will open up. Maybe he stays in New York, but he could still do all the other, sideline reporting. You don't have to be in L.A. for that. So.
Right. And that just leaves Kyle Brandt and Jason McCourty as the two that have not. And I think their last day is this Friday. The show is shutting down after this Friday.
So maybe they'll make an announcement.
I'm assuming they'll make some sort of announcement of whether they're going to continue with the show or whether they're going to pursue other things. I don't know, but I think the way that NFL Network handled this, or the NFL, was totally a mess.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they didn't even tell the people on the show that they were going to be moving. It's just like, well, this is what we're doing. If you want to, fine. If not, see ya.
Yeah.
I hate that, but that's the way they work, I guess. Many stories came out today, and one of them was that the Pro Football Hall of Fame matchup is now set. Oh, and it's a real exciting matchup: the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans. What a snooze fest that's going to
Let's
be.
not go that far. Look, these Hall of Fame games, the thing that stinks is that actually on paper, this should be very interesting. It's just a matter of, because the Bears hypothetically are going to be drafting a Caleb
Right.
Williams or a quarterback at the top of the draft, so that'll be that big story.
Yep.
But then you got the Texans, who were such a great story last year, and C.J. Stroud. But then we all know the reality. It's going to be C.J. Stroud's going to sit on the sideline, so we're not going to see C.J.
Right.
Stroud. The rookie quarterback may or may not play, but maybe they hold him out for a game and let some experienced backup take the reins for this extra preseason game, because all of this is now. Unfortunately, the glam of the Hall of Fame matchup is now just it's an extra game
Right.
in a preseason that we're already trying to cut down. Now this is a fourth game for the Bears and Texans.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe it's just my own opinion that I could care less about the Bears and or the Texans. I
the
do.
Bears, I understand. We hate the Bears.
Right.
Go to heck, Chicago.
I do tune in to the Hall of Fame game just to see the opening kickoff.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I want to see. Okay, foot's on the football. Boom. The preseason has now started. It's NFL season now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and speaking of kickoffs, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about that game.
I'll let you transition. I mean, you seldomly nail a transition. That one was kick perfect almost.
Yeah.
So.
And there are going to be new kickoff rules
Yep.
next fall. Ironically, they're modeling their new kickoff rules on what was previously used in the XFL.
Yep.
And I'm surprised that they are doing that. They don't like to acknowledge that other leagues exist. They don't like to acknowledge that other leagues are doing things better. Yeah, they may adopt some of these things, but it's usually after the league is gone, and then they'll
Right.
pick it up and say, "Oh yeah, we came up with this idea." They don't, they think they're the best and don't give credit to anybody else. Well, here they are stealing something from the XFL, which is now the UFL.
Right.
That I'm not sure how I feel about it. We watched a lot of XFL games last year. We went to one, and this kickoff, I think, out of the entire season, there was one kick returned for a touchdown.
Yep. I think
So the whole
overall, the 2 seasons that XFL had, because they even used that same one back before the COVID or before they got shut
Okay.
down.
Okay.
So I think there were 2 altogether that they've
okay.
had. And I was telling Kyle today, I'm pretty sure that both of those returns happened against my team. One of them was the Battle Hawks doing that the pitch
Right.
that came around. That was a big one. And then there was another one I feel like happened
Right.
back in the original XFL, or I forget which one. But yeah, I think it's happened twice. So it's not like it happens a lot. But with the NFL adopting this, I think it's interesting. They said it's a 1 season. So it's not a
Right.
permanent thing. It's something
Right.
they want to try. And I commend the NFL for wanting to, they'll do something interesting like this, and then they'll do something utterly stupid, what we'll talk about in a second. But this is fascinating to me. I like seeing all these NFL personalities sharing XFL clips
Right.
to show everybody how this works.
Right.
I think it is something that does work. And I think there's a lot more rules and a lot more parameters around the kickoff here. And pardon me while I do a quick little search for.
Well, yeah, the ball has to land in a certain area.
Yep.
Between the 20 and the goal line. It's got to land in that area. It has to be catchable. You can't kick it out of bounds or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of intricacies about it, but basically it is what the XFL had been using. And
Yeah, so they got let's see. I saw a whole thing about all these different rules, but they kind of got a nice little diagram here about. I feel like if you kick it out of the end zone, so they are trying to incentivize kicking it within the landing zone. They're calling it
Right,
between the 20 and the goal line.
right.
So they incentivize that. So I believe one of the rules was if it lands in the landing zone and then rolls into the end zone, it's a touchback to the 20.
Yes.
But if you just kick it out of the end zone, it goes to the 35. So that's fascinating to me. So it is they are trying to at least keep the ball in play because a lot of people complaining about the touchback stuff.
Right.
This nifty graphic here. I'm looking at Ian Rappaport's tweets. Like they'll spot the ball out of bounds if it's kicked between the 35 of the kicking team up to the opposing team's 40-yard line. And then it's 25 yards from the spot of the kick from the 40 to the goal line if it goes out of bounds, which I find interesting. So just that incentive of keeping it inbounds should be interesting. Hopefully, and I think we saw in the XFL that I think injuries were very, very rare.
Right. Yeah, I mean they line up 5 yards apart. You know, one team's on the 40, the other's on 35, and nobody can move until the receiving team actually catches the ball,
right?
And that's when they can take off running. So you're not getting this full head of steam, you know, for 50, 60 yards.
I'm all for that. This was one aspect of that XFL that I actually liked. And like I said, we'll see how it works for the NFL for one season. I like that they said we're going to give it a try for 1 year.
Sure.
Because who knows? Maybe at the end of the year, maybe data will suggest that they're still getting the same number of injuries, or maybe it's still no difference in like yardage gained on kicks or what. I'm sure there's a bunch of NFL math that they're going to do behind the scenes.
Yep.
So who knows? And it'll probably be weird for those who didn't sit down and watch as much XFL as like you and I did, or even some other football fans out there who were like, I like XFL. You know, there's a bunch of us out there. Mm-hmm. So I think for NFL fans and casual football fans, this will be very odd to get used to.
People who have never watched the XFL and don't know what we're talking about.
And are going to watch the NFL and be like, what are they doing? And they're not going to give it a chance. They're going to, complain about it all season. But I feel like it'll be something that after like maybe 5 weeks into the season, people will just be used to. And we won't even have to think about like, we need to get rid of this. I feel like it'll just be so natural that we'll just like, we're good.
Yeah.
We can keep it the way this is. This works. Yeah. Because it does it does make kickoffs relevant again because it has gotten bad.
Right.
We are just ceremoniously kicking off just to have them take it out to the 25.
Yep.
If that's the case, just have them start at the 25 every game
do
instead of a
kickoff altogether and just spot the ball
and maybe that is what happens. Maybe even after this, even this experiment, they go, okay, we tried it this way, we saw it the other way. Maybe we just start the game at the 25.
Right.
Get rid of kickoffs altogether. That could be on the table too. I hate saying that because I think the symbolism of the kickoff, the terminology we use for the kickoff is just so ingrained.
The game kicks off at 4 o'clock.
Exactly. In every level of football.
The game starts at the 25-yard line at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that doesn't have the same ring to it. Certainly. So, okay. I'm glad we're at least kind of on the same page there.
Yes. Let's see. Another story that came out from the NFL. The competition committee's proposal to allow for reviews of whether the game clock expired before the snap got the required votes to become a rule.
Oh, okay.
And there were a couple of times last year when we were screaming during Lions games that the clock hit 0, but they let it go. And they referenced, I think, a Green Bay game with Detroit where the clock ran down to 0 and they got a 44-yard play out of it.
If we can eliminate that, that'd be great.
Yes.
But I also get it. Like I feel like there were a couple of times that we complained. I definitely shouted at the TV, but it was more. I do think sometimes it is more of that TV delay,
right?
Which happens. Right. But it would be nice to also make sure that doesn't happen. Like just to be safe.
Well, I think a lot of the rules that we're going to be talking about here, they're increasing what replay can and cannot do.
Out time.
Yes, it is way long overdue because we've always said, why is that not reviewable? Why not just, be so quick that they can run, the guy upstairs could call down and just say, you know what, that was interference, or no, you got that wrong. Here's what it should be. And I've always said that. So let's continue with what we've got here. The hip drop tackle was unanimously banned by owners. And I was telling you that I don't know what a hip drop tackle is.
I know what it is, but what gets me is that video that they posted, like the NFL's official video of the montage of all the different, what we were looking for. They just look like tackles half the time.
Right, yeah.
But like, do you remember the play where it was the Lions Cowboys game? This one sticks out to me where Aiden Hutchinson sacked Dak Prescott. That was kind of a hip drop where he literally got his like hands around Dak's waist and like essentially used his own body weight to like
pull him down,
like because he was kind of like it looked like he was like in a seated position almost like in the air because he kind of like jumped up a little bit to use that momentum to pull Dak down, and Dak could have really gotten hurt. Like those ankles could have really gotten hurt. So I get that aspect of it. Like, yeah, that might be a little too much. But there's times where I'm like, you're asking some of these tiny defensive backs to take down a big old tight end. Like you've seen some of those guys. Look at a Travis Kelce. Look at a Mark Andrews. Some of these dudes are stinking bodybuilders. And then you got these little thin cornerbacks who are, yeah, they're fast. Don't mean they're going to be able to tackle the Hulk.
Right.
I don't know. It's like they're taking away some tools for defensive backs to make a tackle.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because they've already neutered defensive, strategy to a point where it's hard to be a defensive player in the National Football League.
Yeah.
It almost any level. And so I just feel like it's going to be so ticky-tack, and there might be maybe it's something to look. It's like the same with like a horse collar sometimes, where maybe a guy gets a hand up in that area, but they're not really yanking on the horse collar, but they get flagged. I feel like it's going to definitely be stuff we're going to scream about, like that wasn't a real hip drop, like you guys flagged him for nothing, and people are going to be yelling at the TV. I just think it's going to be too close to call, unless it's super egregious, unless it's like super obvious that a guy used his body weight to kind of jump up in the air and drag him down by the hips. I don't know. I feel like this is one rule. I was like, I feel like there needs to be a lot more clarification too.
And it seems like I read, I didn't write it down here on my notes, but it seems like I read that replay can help with that too. Was that a hip drop tackle or not?
I mean, are they going to essentially turn it into targeting? Like, is that what they'll have to stop the play? We're reviewing for hip drop tackle. Yeah. Like, oh my God, we're going to slow the game down for that. That's why I just feel like just this whole, it's such a fine line to where it could be a hip drop and it could not be.
Right.
It's just, I don't know if it's worth, stopping the game for. Because, like, how many guys have actually gotten hurt on a hip drop tackle? I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm sure there's been a few. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an issue. But I don't know. I just feel like some of the ones I watched in that highlight stuff were just so borderline. I'm like, I wouldn't call that a hip drop. That might be, but I can see where you wouldn't call it. What's a referee gonna? I don't know. I do not envy these referees.
It's not as obvious as a horse collar tackle. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Even though I think Ndamukong Suh got called for a horse collar tackle once, but he didn't grab the guy's uniform. He grabbed his ponytails or his dreadlocks and pulled him down by that.
Which is legal.
Yet they called that a horse collar tackle, which it's supposedly legal to grab somebody by the hair and pull them down, but they couldn't review it at the time. Yeah. So, man, oh man, I'm telling you.
The NFL is just making it harder and harder for
on themselves. Yep. They're making it harder on themselves.
You're going to have fans complaining about it all year. Yeah, it's just...
Well, here's one that was proposed by the Detroit Lions. They want to give coaches a third challenge if either of the first two is successful. Not necessarily both.
I like that. You get it right, you keep it. Like, I love that. And you get a max of 3.
Right, exactly.
It's just like, I think, having that reward, because, like, why should you just lose them throughout the game? If a coach is really good at being like, hey, no, that was incomplete. Bam, we got it right. We get to keep that challenge. The game keeps moving on. I think that's perfect.
Because that was approved, by the way.
It was approved, and I'm so glad Detroit did that, because there are times where it's like, man, if we would have just gotten one more. And there's certain points of the game where you're like, okay, I'm out of my challenges, even though I got both of them right. Maybe because what the old rule was, you get them both right, you get a third.
I don't remember sure, but it said here, not both of them. So if you get both of them right, I guess you don't get a third. But if one of them is right, then you do get a third.
Okay, I saw. I'm down with the new wording. I forget the exact verbiage, but I remember reading it being like, okay, I'm down with this. It sounds like something that would be very useful, especially for the Lions. Not that the Lions challenged a whole lot, I feel like, but I mean, you never know. Games have weird flows to them, so having extra challenges is always a bonus.
Yeah. And also, the NFL will let replay officials assist in fixing mistakes on roughing the passer and intentional grounding calls.
It's about time.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where we've sat there, like, it takes a few seconds. You got a guy in the booth. This is easily correctable mistakes. We'll have to see how they actually do it this season. But on paper, thank goodness.
Meaning that Aaron Rodgers would have never gotten that extra play to throw that game-winning touchdown pass years ago against Detroit when the guy just kind of brushed him with his fingers, and they called it roughing the passer. What a
Yeah,
what a mess that was.
we'll see how that goes. I'm sure they'll find a way to screw that up.
Yeah. Let's see. The new kickoff rules. We have already talked about that, modeled after the XFL. The trade deadline is moving to the Tuesday after week 9 instead of the Tuesday after week 10.
Ooh.
So they're shortening it up a little bit.
Interesting. I kind of like that, like tighten it up a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a big change, but I don't know. I feel like, give, teams got to figure their stuff out early,
Right.
so.
Let's see. The NFL will play a doubleheader on Christmas Day, even though it falls on a Wednesday this year.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Can the NFL not feel like they need to be out front on every major holiday ever?
Yeah.
I hate this. It's fine if it falls on a Sunday or a Monday, maybe even a Saturday, have games on Christmas Day. But to go out of your way to say, oh, it's on a Wednesday, we want to play. And not only one game, we're going to have 2 games. Why don't you just play 3 games like you normally do? You'll have a primetime game, Forget going to church and all this other stuff and being with your family. No, let's get NFL games out there. I don't like it.
I know. I mean, years ago, it was the NBA that pretty much had a foothold
Right, yeah.
on the Christmas games.
Yep.
If you're the NFL, and I hate saying it, I hate being the opposite to you, but I think it's extremely smart.
It's a money grab.
It is. I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you're the NFL, I see it as, all right, it's on a Wednesday this week. All they have to do differently for the NFL is, just input it into their magical AI schedule maker, and guess what? The teams that are going to play on that Wednesday, they'll get a bye that week before. They play the Christmas game, then they kind of get a half bye to play the next week. So they'll figure that out. So that whole headache is a non-issue. Now it's, do they do a Thursday night that week too, the day after Christmas? I mean, that's going to be bowl season too.
Yeah.
So you're already going to have college bowl games that whole time too.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see where the NFL plants their flags. Are they still going to do Thursday night games at that point? And with it being Christmas weekend, do they also capitalize and go, we're going to have games Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 5 days in a row?
And Monday night.
And then a Monday night game 6 days in a row? It wouldn't surprise me, but I mean, but if you think about it, the NFL has put out some decent Christmas Day games, I think, the last couple of years. I'll always think of that Saints game where Alvin Kamara had the 6 touchdowns wearing his green and red shoes. I mean, that's still in my brain. I don't know about all the other casual fans out there or other fans if they think about Christmas games like that.
I completely forgot about that until you said that.
I'm trying to think who played on Christmas this past year, but I think they put up numbers. I'm sure the NFL had the top 15 broadcasts in the United States last year.
They always do.
So that tells you how big this league is. So they can essentially do whatever they want, mark their territory. And they've already marked Christmas Day. Oh, it's on a Wednesday this year. Guess what, everybody? It's still ours. That's all the NFL is doing there. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, on Christmas Day, come on, we're all looking for an out after opening presents, right? Oh, hey, honey. Yep, we're done eating. We're done doing all the presents. Oh, by the way, a game's on. Leave me alone for 3 hours. I need this time. Come on. They're giving us an out, Randy.
No, the NFL is just peeing on Christmas Day to mark their spot. Like, yes, this is our day now.
And when they announced that it'll be the Detroit Lions playing on Christmas Day, and you said, literally, I get a Lions game for Christmas, you're going to change your tune.
Well, the teams have not been announced yet for the doubleheader on Christmas Day. So it could be Detroit. Who knows? But,
they're saying Detroit's a hot commodity.
If I happen to get a new Lions shirt or sweatshirt or hat or something, I can wear that while I'm watching the game.
I mean, we already suck on Thanksgiving, even though we're better now. But boy, I don't want to be terrible on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Not anymore. I think we've turned that corner. I hope. All right.
I haven't won a Thanksgiving game in 8 years.
Whatever. Let's see. Week 1, the Friday night game that's going to be in Brazil is going to be streamed exclusively on Peacock.
Oh boy!
It's going to be the Eagles versus whoever. They haven't announced their opponent yet. Now, here's something that I read that I had no idea of. The Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 prohibits NFL games on Friday nights and Saturdays before the second weekend in September. I had never, ever heard of this.
I haven't either.
Yeah, but evidently that's something that they negotiated with the TVs, with the broadcast networks in 1961. Saying because of college and high school, going on at that time, so they didn't want the NFL.
What an outdated broadcasting act.
Well, But it says it'll also be available in the participating teams' local markets on regular TV. So,
Boy, oh
but
boy.
everybody else is going to have to stream it on Peacock.
Well, we already
If you want to see
experienced this
that.
once with the playoff game, and we knew this was coming. There's going to be more. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It's a Peacock game here. It's an Amazon game there,
Right.
which I don't know if you have that story in here.
I didn't add it, but Amazon is getting
a wild
card game now.
Yeah, so they're going to get the wild card game instead of Peacock. It sounds like so.
Yeah, they're divvying all that up too. Money.
And don't get me wrong, I like these services, but it's the fact that NFL games have just been like so easy to access, and a playoff game when it's games that matter just seem, I don't know, wrong to just put behind a paywall when it's like for years. Yeah, but I get it. The NFL's got to do what they got to do. You got to make more money. But I don't know. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I think it's silly. But who am I kidding? I already have all the streaming services because
I know
I do movies and I watch all the shows and
people of a certain age do have all the streaming services.
I mean, it's getting to the point where
they're the ones who aren't watching the NFL a lot.
No, true, but
you're the exception.
I am the exception. But I mean, it's even getting to a point with these streaming services that it's going to be real hard. And this is a whole sidebar, but like, they're losing subscribers here and there. Like Netflix is losing people for a little period that like people jump around to the different services.
Right.
So at some point, are we going to get to the point where these streaming services, so on top of, I want to watch that game, but then you have to sign up for Peacock, but in a few years, it's going to be, there's a sign up fee for this app. So I'm out $30 for a sign up fee. Then you got to pay for the monthly membership. So you're out $38-40 just to watch one NFL game.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's only however much it is a month. I don't even know, $10, which isn't terrible. That's just don't go to McDonald's for a day and you can afford to watch an NFL game. But I mean, down the line, the whole streaming with sports dynamic is going to be a fascinating one to watch. And because, like I said, these streaming services are going to be just building up like that. They're going to be trying to keep people. So they're going to have stuff like that. And how is that going to work with sports? Like, are they going to give you more live sports on these so that at least your subscription, for certain you're going to get all these games? Because Peacock only does NBC. Then you've got, what other network? So Fox would be under its own thing. So you're going to have to jump around to all these different exclusive apps. Paramount's got CBS. So for now, but so I don't know. There's so much here that we could get into. I'm rambling, so we can move on. Just know that this is going to be a bigger issue in the future.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. NFL owners approved Cal McNair as the new principal owner of the Houston Texans. McNair previously served as the team's CEO and chairman. His mother, Janice McNair, had served in that role since her husband and team founder, Bob McNair, died in 2018. So, not a huge story, but if you're Texans fan, it's kind of like with Detroit, passing the torch from Martha to Sheila. Yeah. So
I mean, I think that's still always a big deal. And you have a brand new owner in the NFL landscape. Sure, it's in the same family,
right?
And going forward, a lot of these NFL teams are going to be just being passed down to family members because now it's not like back in the day where it's like, I really don't want to own a sports team anymore. Now it's your legacy, it's your family name. Sure. So I don't know, interesting. Cal McNair, hopefully, takes care of that team, that franchise. Those fans love that team.
Yep.
So
keeping the family legacy alive.
Yeah.
Browns owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam confirmed during the annual league meetings on Monday that they are looking at two options for a stadium. One is renovating the existing Cleveland Browns stadium on the city's waterfront, or building a dome stadium in the suburb of Brook Park, Ohio. I think that makes a lot of sense for them to have a dome stadium.
I think it's very appealing. I mean, you see a lot of these teams in the northern areas kind of now leaning that way, especially with as much money as this league is making. Hosting a Super Bowl or having a facility able to host, like you build this dome stadium, you're guaranteed a Super Bowl.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of revenue.
Yep.
You get to host a Taylor Swift concert in the middle of the cold weather.
Yep.
Taylor will come and play at your venue now. because you got a dome stadium there in Cleveland.
And
and Travis Kelce's from there, so that's double interest there for Taylor.
We know the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium, and it's not going to be a dome stadium, which I think is wrong. But that's just me. I think
we know some Buffalo Bills fans who will
they should have a dome
yell
stadium
at you otherwise,
because they've run into some problems over the last few years where they had to move their games to other stadiums. Detroit once or twice. Yep. So now Cleveland could pick up a Buffalo game. If they get snowed out or something, they'll just move it to Cleveland instead of coming all the way to Detroit. It's half the distance, and so that they could benefit from that too.
So is the message here? You're saying don't build a dome stadium, Cleveland?
I'm saying yes, build a dome stadium, and then you can host Buffalo games when they get snowed out of their own stadium.
No. You're saying Cleveland, don't build dome stadium so Detroit could still get those games and make a little extra money.
Hey, well, if it's not available because Taylor Swift is going to be there, come to Detroit.
But no, you got Chicago talking about building a dome stadium. You got Cleveland talking about. So I think some of these teams, I get the outdoor aspect of it. I just wish more of these teams who are doing these domes make retractable roofs, because it would still be nice to kind of feel like you're outdoors. But when the weather's that bad, take care of your fans and close the dome up. Like it should be that simple. But I don't know what else goes on behind the scenes. But
a few years ago, Mike Barksdale and I went to a Cleveland game. It was Cleveland against Detroit. Yep. We met in Cleveland. We went to the game together, and it was gorgeous. It was early August.
Well, yeah, because you went to a preseason game like a lunatic.
But and we sat up we were in the last row.
I remember that picture.
And you could sit there and you could look at Lake Erie. It was gorgeous, that you could see the ships out there and whatever. But come January, you don't want to be sitting there with the stuff coming off the lake. The snow and the ice and the wind and everything. And when the weather's great, it's a wonderful stadium. I enjoyed being there. But for the whole season, they can use the dome stadium. That's just my opinion. All right, let's see. Hard Knocks in season could follow an entire division this coming year. What do you think about that? I think it's going to be way too much. Of course, I don't watch that anyway.
Logistic-wise, they already have NFL film crews at all the different games. So game footage-wise, they're set. But now you're talking about a crew that's already been, you got one good crew that does one locker room. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about, I'm not saying that everybody at the NFL film staff is, would be watered down if they had to break it up. But to me, you're getting your best crew, and you're getting a B team, a C team, a D team, crews of guys that might not normally be your
They got to be there all day long for all the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff in the quarterback room, and different stuff like that.
And maybe they could set up stuff where they don't have to be there. Maybe you only need a couple people there just to monitor all the cameras you install into the facilities. I just feel like that's a bit much. While I am interested in this concept, I am very for this concept. How fascinating. We're going to follow the AFC West. Ooh, okay. So we get the drama between the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Broncos and the fourth team that I can't think of, the Chargers. There we go. With a Jim. So many great personalities in that division. So many interesting ways and angles you can watch the drama unfold of the season that those teams have had going into the stretch. The dismal 0-16 season Jim Harbaugh is going to have in Los Angeles. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it. I just feel like that's a lot. Remember when they did the two teams for Hard Knocks?
LA and the
Chargers and Rams.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was interesting, but I feel like
that was preseason. That wasn't in season.
That's true. That was preseason, but think of because they were jumping back and forth, and there were times where I think we said, I want to go back to that, because since you're focusing on more teams, all the interesting stuff, you feel like you have to cut it short because you're obligated to talk about three other teams. If you stuck with one or two, that's less time you have to focus on. You're just dividing your time up differently. I just don't know. I like the idea of it. Like I said, the drama, the storytelling you could do about within the division. I mean, we look at our own division, the NFC North, the drama that unfolded there. Ooh, Detroit trying to get their first division win. Right. Minnesota's right there. Green Bay's on the rise at the end of the season. Ooh, even the Bears are kind of sneakily being good. Could they sneak in for... that was all great drama. But we're already watching that unfold week after week. Do we really also need... I guess this is my own counterpoint to that. Do we really need a more in-depth look at that when we're already seeing it?
Right.
What's more interesting to me is focusing on a locker room. Even I'm not a big fan of the end season.
No, I don't care for it at all.
I do already feel like I've already seen the drama unfold on the field, so I'm going back and watching I don't know. If it was my team, it might be different. But I feel like all these teams do their own version of like a in-season, behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't need this.
Well, one thing I will say about this is
I can't believe I talked myself out of that. I was all for it. I think I just talked myself out of it. I don't think I want this at all now.
the one thing I can say is that, if it were the NFC Central, say,
What's the NFC Central? That's old.
NFC North, I'm sorry. But at the end of the year, they have all the, conference games, at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. So, yeah, you're going to be playing these teams in the last few weeks of the season. So it might be interesting to see, how Green Bay talks about going to see the Bears. We know from a Lions fan standpoint, what we need to do, who we need to beat, and how we're going to go about it. But it might be interesting to see how the other teams are dealing with the other teams in the division. So it might be a little interesting. I don't know. I might watch a little bit of it, but for the most part, I don't care for the in season. I'll watch the preseason stuff all day long, but
because they've done
in season, no.
Because they've done 3 seasons of the in season, right? They did.
Yeah, I haven't watched any.
Well, the first one was the Colts, then they did the Cardinals, and then this past year was the Dolphins. I didn't watch a lick of it. I think I maybe watched 2 seconds of the Cardinals one, whatever the first was, the Colts one, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're changing up the format, because nobody's really giving a crap about the in season.
Yeah.
Preseason has still been decent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had the gold standard, which was the Lions Hard Knocks a couple years back. Who was last year's? I already forgot. It was the Jets. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
What a glorious time that was.
Debacle that was, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Love watching a train wreck. Can't take your eyes off it.
All right, we're almost done with the NFL stories. We are literally 36 minutes into this. We haven't even gotten to anything outside of the NFL.
The last thing in the NFL is I got my copy.
Oh, it's all about him, everybody.
Called From Grit to Glory, which was put out by the Detroit Free Press.
It's a nice looking book.
And it was. It's a very nice little hardcover book. I guess you call it a coffee table book because it's kind of misshapen or whatever. But it's got a lot of great photos. And of course, I haven't read the thing cover to cover yet. But
why not?
Because I haven't had time.
Why haven't you had time? What do you work on?
Never you mind.
It definitely wasn't getting.
But it's got a lot of great pictures in
it,
and it's got a section at the end where they talk about the history of the Lions. And their other 4 NFL titles, 3 in the 50s, 1 in 1935. So, yeah, it's a really nice book. And I think, years from now, it'll be great to look back on this season and read some of the stuff that the Free Press put together for this book and just remember what a great season it was. And we were there for 2 games also.
So where is this available from again?
Piedmont Press, I think.
Pediment?
Is it?
I see something from Pediment Publishing.
Okay. I thought it was Piedmont.
I mean, it could be. I don't know. $45?
Probably.
All right. Yeah, it's a good looking book. I need to get one. Now that I see it,
they advertised it like before the season was even over with, and said it was going to come out in March, and it did. But I bought one as soon as I saw it because I thought, oh, that's going to be great, and I'm glad I did. So yeah, I pre-ordered it many months ago, and it finally came just last week.
Oh, well, looks like I can order it on Amazon right now. $45? Yeah, all right.
Yep. It's
sold. Amazon, thank you.
Worth it for any Lions fan. From Grit to Glory by the Detroit Free Press. Okay, let's move on to some college news. Ohio State and Michigan's spring football games will air respectively on Fox this April. The Ohio State game, spring game, is going to be on Saturday, April 13th, and the Michigan spring game is going to be on Saturday, April 20th.
Oh my God, are they that desperate for content? Because I've never understood. Look, we've gone to a couple Western Michigan spring games.
Yep.
Maybe somebody out there can explain it to me. Why this is a big deal? I don't get it.
Well, wasn't it for a few years Ohio State and Georgia were battling back and forth to who was going to have the biggest attendance at their spring game?
Between them and
45,000.
Between them and 60, Alabama.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's, fans are just nuts to see, what their team's going to look like next year.
I guess, but man, that's you're playing 4 or 5 months before you're even going to touch the football field.
I can understand them wanting to do Michigan because they're the defending national champions. So people would be looking at that like, oh, they lost a lot of players. They got some new kids. What are they going to look like? And so people will look at that. But I I'm sure this will only get bigger, and Fox will start doing many other spring
I'm
games.
just surprised this
Or, like,
hasn't
stagger
happened
'em.
sooner, to be honest with you.
True, that's true.
All these big schools, like you'd think they would do like a week's worth of on Monday, watch the Ohio State practice, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
What's the game called? Spring game.
spring game.
Then the Michigan spring game on Tuesday, Alabama on Wednesday, Georgia on Thursday, the Baptist Mountaineers of West Virginia on Friday. Like, I don't know.
Well,
Like,
I'm surprised they don't tape these games and then just show them at different times, like you're saying right there. They don't have to be shown live, but then they've got stuff that they can show, on weekends. And oh yeah, here's what happened last week. Here's the Michigan spring game or whatever.
I guess. I don't know. Since I don't really have like a big allegiance to a college other than Western, and as much as I like Western,
Right.
it's the spring game. Let me know when real football, like it's me, my feelings with like the NFL preseason. Let me know when the real stuff starts. Like maybe I'll check in for a minute, look at a couple guys, but that's about it. Like it's just not my thing.
Yeah, Western always has. It's a real crapshoot with Western because the weather here in Michigan, it's either going to be freezing, raining, or it's going to be the nicest day in the month
Let's
of
look at this
April.
last weekend. Well, what a birthday weekend I had because it was snowing on Friday. I drove through a blizzard. And then it was like kind of cold on Saturday, rainy on Sunday. Look how nice it is today. Like in
Yeah.
the span of 5 days, you get all 8 seasons.
Yeah, I went for a walk in shorts yesterday because it was about 63 degrees or so.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous around here, and now it's back to it'll be in the 40s in the next couple of days, and work its way back to the 50s. Who knows? All right, let's move on to some CFL news. The CFL Combine wrapped up last week in Winnipeg. We don't talk about that very much. They have their own draft in the Canadian Football League. They have their own combine. They get everybody together and they run them through their paces, just like the NFL does. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but yes, they do the same thing.
You know why? It's because they don't have the CFL network broadcasting their version of
True.
the Underwear Olympics.
That's true.
Or I'm sure as they would call it up in Canada, the Underoos Olympics or the Long Underwear Olympics.
You had just drawn a target on your chest today, man.
It's all good. Come at me, football fans. I'm just here to have fun, aren't we all?
But their combine did wrap up.
Combat?
Well, you could call it combat.
Oh my God, I'd watch that.
Combine wrapped up last week, and there've been several articles, talking about who really shone during the combine and whose draft status went way up and whatnot. So I think that's great. And then the other CFL item I've got this week is the Edmonton Elks will be celebrating their 75th season this year. They got a nice logo already designed for that, and I'm sure they're planning a bunch of special events. But I wouldn't mind getting one of those 75th anniversary T-shirts, green with it like a yellow logo.
Between the 75th for the Elks and then the 10th for the Red Blacks,
Right. Yep.
pretty cool. With the Elks, obviously their long history as the Eskimos. Are we even allowed to say Eskimos anymore? I don't know.
On this show we can.
But if you go to like their X account or their Twitter page, they have a cool the graphic with the shield of 75 years, and then they got all the logos through the years, the different EEs, and then all the way up to the current Elks logo.
Right.
Pretty cool. I like that they still got the EE incorporated into what the
Right.
team is now.
Right.
So, good for them. I think they are a very storied franchise in the
Oh, yeah.
CFL.
Yep.
They've just fallen on some very hard years the last several years between a team name change, just being not that good.
They'll come back.
They'll come back, but I mean, it'll be great to honor some of those old teams. Like you just did that history lesson about Warren Moon not that long ago. So I think they could do a lot of cool stuff with the 75th anniversary. Maybe they'll do what the Alouettes did a few years back, like rock some old jerseys and helmets.
Yep.
That's the one thing the CFL does really well. Like they don't have that bogus one jersey, rule combination like I feel like the NFL's got, where like Edmonton, the Alouettes, like every 2 weeks,
Right.
changed up their look through the
Yeah,
decades, and
they had
that
like
was
5
so
or 6
cool.
helmets throughout the season.
Heck yeah.
And it was because some of these helmets I had never seen, live on a game before,
Yeah.
and it was pretty cool. So yeah, I want to see what other merchandise they come out with. Maybe a pint glass or
I'm sure they'll stick it on everything.
a coin with the 75th logo.
Oh, there you go.
Get some of that stuff and add that to the old
Look
collection.
this
here.
up, Canadian brethren. We will pay through the nose for some Elks gear with that logo, or the Red Blacks with their 10th logo.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we do have some news from the Arena Football League. The Nashville Cats have a new member of their ownership group. It is Chuck McDowell. That's his name. Chuck McDowell.
I don't know who that is.
He was also named chairman of the team, and he's got a couple different businesses around the Nashville area.
Okay.
But if you've ever heard his radio commercials,
How's it go?
I'm Chuck McDowell. You ever bought a timeshare and you can't get out of it? Well, my company has spent many years helping people get out of their timeshares. It's the only thing where you don't know how much you're going to pay and when it's going to end. I hear those on the radio all the time when I'm driving in my car.
Can you please keep going? I was so quiet to not talk during that. I want to cut that out and maybe turn it into a nice little stinger at the end with some like background music. No. Oh man, I'm going to surprise you when I'm done editing this show.
But
stick around to the end, everybody. I might have a treat
when I realized
for you.
That was him, his voice immediately came into my head because I'm like, Chuck McDowell, who is this guy? And already he's like, I think he's become the majority owner. There were a couple of ladies that were co-owners of the team, and they brought him in, and now he's got more of a percentage in the team than they do. So he's the principal owners from what I can understand. But yeah, when I realized that was him that I heard on the radio, I put two and two together. But yeah, he's obviously doing quite well. So hopefully he'll be a good addition to the ownership group there of the Nashville Cats, and much success to all of them down there. In other arena football news, the Rapid City Marshals get a game on NFL Network after all. When the NFL Network schedule was released recently for the AFL, there was one team that was not on the national TV schedule, and that was the Rapid City Marshals. But that's not the case anymore. The Marshals moved a game from Saturday, May 11th to Sunday, May 12th versus the Billings Outlaws, and now they are on the national TV schedule. And I guess they had a survey of their fans, maybe season ticket holders, and the season ticket holders wanted their games on Saturdays. They didn't like the Sunday games, and so they tried to keep that. But I mean, you can make exception for one Sunday to get on national TV. I mean, every team in the league deserves to be on there. They were the only ones that weren't. So I'm glad they made that move, switched the game, and the NFL Network said, "Okay, yeah, we'll bump somebody else, and you get a game now." So I think that's awesome. And AFL Commissioner Lee Hutton III says that he has reached out to quarterback Johnny Manziel, who is 31 years old right now, about the possibility of playing in the Arena Football League. Manziel last played for the Fan-Controlled Football League a few years ago. You know, I wanted to go to Canada to see Manziel when he was up there.
We got to see him in the AAF.
No, we did not. He wasn't there that day, was he?
I thought he was.
No, I think he was there like the next week. I think we missed him.
Did we just miss him?
Yep.
Okay.
But I've got his AAF card.
Yeah.
And we were going to go see him in Canada too, and he got booted from.
He got traded, did he?
Yeah, from Toronto or Hamilton. He was with Hamilton, and he went to Montreal or something like that. I forget what team he went to.
It was Montreal.
Yeah, we had tickets, and we went to the game, and he had already been traded to another team, so we missed out on seeing him there too. So I will catch him in the Arena Football League.
I mean, if he's game for it, I mean, I'm all for a comeback. But part of me also feels like we watched him in that fan-controlled football experiment.
I didn't care for not him, but I didn't care for the
I just don't know if his heart was in it. Like, I don't even know if it'd be in it for arena football. I think it'd be just another gimmick. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's desperate that the commissioner reached out to a name like that. I get it. You got to try it.
Well, he's probably a fan of Manziel.
Maybe he is. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying I also feel like it not reeks of desperation, but I mean, you are still, it's not brand new league, but you're starting back up. Having a name like that would be buzzworthy. Any press is good press, that kind of thing. So I understand that. If Manziel wants to play and actually has a desire to at 31 to commit to a 10-game season with a franchise in the Arena Football League and not just be a 2 or 3 weeks, I'm good and gone. Like, I don't want that. I want a full commit. If he's going to do it, have him fully commit. And I'd be behind that. I don't want it to be a gimmick. I don't want it to be he comes out for one game, plays one game, and that's it. Yeah. You boost up your season ticket sales there in Minnesota, and, Manziel comes out game one, plays, and then he's gone. Yeah. And all those people that bought season tickets are like, but I thought we were going to get him. As long as it's nothing like that. And I'm not implying that that's what's happening.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't know. I would feel okay if he wants to play. If he doesn't, fine also. I just don't want it to be a gimmick.
Yeah, at this point, the Arena Football League does not need gimmicks. They need solid football, uh, good
That will
TV
win the people
ratings.
over.
Yeah,
I think they get a big W by getting that NFL Network deal, by having so many games being nationally broadcast. I think that is a big fat W for this league that we've all been skeptical about. I think getting a Johnny Manziel who wants to play and prove himself would be a big W as well. It's just a matter of, is that how he sees it? The way I've kind of
right.
seen things, it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah.
But I guess you also cannot blame the commish for
At least reaching out,
reaching
making
out.
that offer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and why not some other guys that have, been out there? Get Kurt Warner to come back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean. I'm sure there's other guys, because I feel like Manziel's name's already been dragged through the mud. He's already dealt with so
Right.
much. He's already been a part of all these other failed leagues. And I'm not saying like that would mean that this arena league is going to fail, but it's just this guy. He's just been trying to make a name for himself, and as long as it's not a pure gimmick, I'm okay with it.
Well, I think Manziel was not in a very good place for
Oh,
a
for
long
many
time.
years,
And
many years.
I think he's finally at a good place mentally right now.
And
So
who knows,
hopefully,
maybe the arena league could be good for him.
Yeah.
Maybe he actually goes, wow, so this is what a supportive fan base, this is what, because it is a little more intimate. I could see where maybe you go to an arena team, you're embraced by this community, and the venues are so smaller, so you're interacting with fans more. Maybe that's something that could totally change his perspective. Yeah, he's 31, so that's kind of getting up there, but it's not like he's been getting hit by linebackers the last 5 years. So he probably, maybe if he's got something left in the tank, I would be all for a Johnny Manziel arena football stint. Just, Johnny, if you're into it, commit.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening right now.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're on his weekly podcast rotation. But I just, as long as he commits, I'm cool with it. Like, give him a legit shot. Like, that would be nice. I would be all for that. Then when they can turn it into a movie 5 years down the line.
All right, UFL news. We will be at the Michigan Panthers game this Saturday. We've got our tickets, and we went to a USFL game last year, so we've seen the Michigan Panthers play at Ford Field, but now it's the UFL, and they're going to be playing the St. Louis Battlehawks, which is a team we saw last year in St. Louis.
So your two teams from last year, your XFL team, which was the Battlehawks,
Yep.
your USFL team, the Michigan Panthers,
Yep.
square off. Are you going to wear a Battlehawks shirt with a Panthers hat? What are you going to do?
I think I'm still going to be wearing Michigan Panthers stuff. The same as I was back in 1983 and 1984 when I was
And
going
I'm
to games
sure
at the Pontiac Silverdome.
And I'm sure I'll probably be recording as much as I can. See if we can't turn it into a fun little video of us going to the one of the first UFL games. Technically,
it would be the second because there would be a game earlier that day.
So and see what kind of crowd maybe get. I'm excited. Like I think it'll be a lot of fun. I can't believe it's this Saturday. That snuck up on us.
I couldn't believe that either. I'm like, oh, we got another couple of weeks, don't we? No, that's this coming
Saturday. Heck yeah, let's do it. I'm excited, and I mean, turning it into content also helps us out. So,
yep. All right, moving to the Indoor Football League, we have some actual scores from Week 2. On Friday night, there was a doubleheader. The Quad City Steamwheelers defeated the Sioux Falls Storm 38-32. And the Frisco Fighters defeated the Tulsa Oilers 31-25. On Saturday, there was another doubleheader. The Green Bay Blizzard defeated the Iowa Barnstormers 35-24, and the Massachusetts Pirates defeated the Jacksonville Sharks 26-21. There was one game on Sunday. The Las Vegas Knights over the Arizona Rattlers 45-43.
What a shocker. I was actually paying attention to that game. I was shocked that the
Arizona's been such a good team for such a long time, and now all of a sudden...
Are they the Knights? I thought they were the Las Vegas Night Hawks. You just writing down the hockey team name?
I might have put that down wrong. Yeah, they could be the Nighthawks, yeah.
The Vegas Nighthawks? Come on now. Come on, Randy.
Yeah, whatever. And then there was a game last night, Monday night. San Diego Strike Force over the Duke City Gladiators 32-26.
Did you see that some of the new fields they've been getting in the Indoor Football League?
Mm-mm.
Some of the, I think the Strike Force, I saw some pictures of their home field. I'm not sure if this game was in San Diego. They got some nice new field turf. Like it looks like a Forge Field type grass instead of like that super hard AstroTurf that arena leagues and indoor leagues have done. So I think that's pretty cool that some of these indoor teams are moving to that. Who knows if the arena league will do that too, but it's cool seeing the indoor football league kind of transitioning into that kind of field for their games. So
Sure, yeah.
just want to throw that out there.
And then on by this week in the Indoor Football League, the Northern Arizona Wranglers, the San Antonio Gunslingers, the Bay Area Panthers, and the Tucson Sugar Skulls
Bye in week 2. Come
all on
on.
by.
Come on.
All right, moving on to some American indoor football scores. This is also week 2 for them. On Saturday, the Corpus Christi Tritons were supposed to be playing a game at the Mississippi Raiders, but the game was canceled due to unsafe playing surface. The Tritons were awarded a 2-0 win via forfeit. And the very next day, the Raiders were removed from the league schedule.
Wow.
And you sent me a picture of what their field looked like. And man, it was a patchwork of several different fields.
It looks so bad.
Oh my God, it looked awful.
Like I'm gonna try to pull it up so I can have another point of reference. But it's just, oh my God, it's just so bad. It's like nothing matched up.
No.
It literally looks like a bunch of children's carpets just kind of dragged into the middle of an arena.
Yeah.
It's so bad looking. Like, and they're so far away from the backer board, from any sort of backer board. It just doesn't look like it would have been a good venue to host like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe they could, but I feel like if that's the proper dimensions for the field, I don't see how that was going to work.
No, I don't know.
That's just, it's a sad story. And that picture encapsulates, some of these rinky dink leagues and teams or people who think they can do this and they just can't deliver.
Well, the Mississippi Raiders were around last year. They were in the same league with the Columbus Lions, and they got their butts handed to them when in a game against the Lions. So I don't know what kind of arena or field they had last year, but
Right.
boy, this does not make them look good at all.
No, and you hate to see that, and you hate to hear about any team getting kicked out of their league middle of the season, but
right. Well,
that's
week 2.
But that's also our big issue with a lot of these smaller leagues that we're talking about, like the AIF. We're talking about them a little more this year. NAL, they lost a couple teams just before the season kicked off. So like these smaller leagues, just you got to be careful. Whether an ownership group and are they just biting off more than they can chew?
I'm surprised they didn't make them a traveling team and just give everybody else an extra game in their arena.
It's probably just easier to cut bait with the whole.
I don't know.
The whole thing.
Yeah, maybe the ownership group wasn't up to par too. Who knows?
It could be. Yeah, there could be more behind the scenes, but I'm sure
we don't know
by that picture that did not help.
Okay. In another game in the AIF on Saturday night, the Cedar Rapids River Kings played a game against a National Arena League team, the Colorado Spartans. And I've not been able to find any articles on this game. The NAL plays by arena football rules. That they've got the rebound nets and two separate leagues, two major leagues. Normally, a lot of these teams will play against an independent team or some from some real lower level indoor team, and they usually beat the crap out of them. But I mean, these are two legit teams from two legit leagues, and they were on both schedules. So if you look at the NAL schedule, it says that there's a game between the Spartans and the River Kings, and then you look at the AIF schedule, and it says the same thing. So this was weird, but the NAL team, the Colorado Spartans, I gotta slur that a little bit, defeated the Cedar Rapids River Kings 35-26.
And because you were telling me about this when we were doing our prep for the show, and I was looking for it on the River Kings website and even their Facebook page. They had nothing from the game. Then I jumped over to the Colorado Spartans Facebook page. They had some pictures. So it was a home game for them, and they had the nets up.
Okay.
So it looks like they just played by National Arena League rules. Which makes sense, but it just I don't know how they came to that agreement. Like
there's a lot we don't know about this game. But
if anybody knows, let us know.
I want to know more.
Yeah.
I want somebody to get a hold of us and let us know. Somebody from one of these two cities where they know all the backstories of what happened. I was hoping to see, maybe there would be like a YouTube video of a local sports station talking about the game and how it came
Maybe
about.
it's out there. We just
I don't know.
didn't
I
see
haven't found
anything.
anything yet, but I would be very, very interested to learn more about how this game came to be and
And is it
how it was actually played.
is there a home and home situation? Is a National Arena League team going to go to a AIF team?
Yeah, I didn't look farther into the schedule to
Yeah,
see if
who
that's
knows?
going to
But I
happen
mean,
again.
if we're talking about tiers, I would say the National Arena League is a tier above
Sure.
the AIF.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
But still, I mean, both of these leagues have been around for a long time, and so I just thought it was strange that these two leagues would have a game against each other during the season. Is this game even going to count towards the
right,
standings?
yeah. Is it or is
I
it
don't
more of an
know.
exhibition
Another
game?
thing we don't know. So, and that's the problem with some of these smaller indoor leagues. We don't get a lot of news, unless you live in one of these cities. You don't hear a lot of these things.
And even like looking at, like I said, I looked at the Facebook pages and
Mhm.
I didn't really see any explanation. It was just, we have a
Right,
game. Here's
right.
pictures from that game. I don't see anything about standings. Maybe there's something, I didn't go way back. Maybe when they announced it, they had said what was going to happen, but
Yeah,
I didn't go that far back. I was just looking into this past weekend if there was anything, and that's all I came up with.
yeah. Yep. So on bye for the AIF last week was the Columbus Lions, the Amarillo Venom, and the Harrisburg Stampede. So then we go to the National Arena League in their week 2, and the first game is the Colorado Spartans defeating the AIF Cedar Rapids team 35 to 26. And then the other game on Sunday was the Omaha Beef over the Carolina Cobras 54 to 43. And on bye for the NAL, the National Arena League, was the Idaho Horsemen, the Sioux City Bandits, and the Oklahoma Flying Aces. All right, so now we move on to a fourth league that's actually playing right now, the Liga de Futebol Americano Profesional. This was week 4 for them, and they're kind of like the CFL. They've got 9 teams, so they have 4 games, and one team has a bye every week. But on Saturday there was a doubleheader. The Black Roosters defeated the Dinos 21 to 6. The Leaders over the Mexicans 34 to 6. And then on Sunday there was the Melters over the Kings 35 to 23. Then there was supposed to be a game between the Bosses and the Raptors on Sunday, but that game got canceled for whatever reason.
They posted. We spent a little bit of time before the show just using
With a Spanish translator.
the translators on our iPhones trying to figure out. I got the first paragraph down, and it essentially equated to the game was canceled.
Right.
Because I couldn't copy the text out of the
Right,
picture.
right.
I didn't want to pay for an app that did that. But
Well, on the website, you can get the entire website in either English or Spanish,
Right.
but they did not have this information. The
Yeah,
only place you found it
which
was
is
their
weird.
Instagram page.
Yeah, their Instagram post, and it was on
Right.
their X account.
So it might show up on the website in a day or so, talking about the
Maybe.
circumstances, and then we'll be able to read the whole thing.
Maybe, and maybe if there's any Spanish speaking, reading fellow football fans out there, that give us that little tidbit. We'd be appreciative.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of got the gist. I knew a little bit of Spanish from high school, not a whole lot. I'm by no means bilingual, but I picked out a few words to essentially grasp that
Right.
canceled,
Right.
or whatever the word for postponed is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we'll see. But my favorite thing about this, like incorporating this league, has been, man, we got some cool technology that allows us to translate this whole website to English for us. Like,
Sure.
it might not be a perfect translation, but we at least
yeah.
grasp enough to, like even translating some of the team names, hasn't been perfect. We've got a couple different contradictory names. So
Well, even on their website, when they translate things into English, when I was looking at the scores, one had scores in numbers,
Right.
and then one of them, the score 21 was written out in
Yes.
English 21. TWENT. How do you do that? I don't
I know it's all AI's fault.
I know.
It's AI's world. We're just living in it.
Yeah. And then on bye for the LFA was the Greyhounds last week. So that's it for the scores this week. We're going to move on to today's birthdays. For March 26th, running back Marcus Allen turned 64 today. He played his college football at USC and was the 10th overall pick in the 1982 NFL Draft by the LA Raiders. He played 16 NFL seasons. He was with the Raiders from 82 to 92 and won Super Bowl 18 with them. Then he finished his career with the Kansas City Chiefs from 93 to 97. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2003. Now, here's something that a lot of people may not know. His brother is Damon Allen, who played in the CFL from 85 to 2007. He played with the Toronto Argonauts, the Ottawa Rough Riders, the Edmonton Eskimos at the time, the Memphis Mad Dogs of CFL USA, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the British Columbia Lions. He won 4 Grey Cup titles over the course of his career, and he was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2012. We went to a training camp in Mississauga with the Argonauts once, and I walked right by Damon Allen. I didn't say hi or anything to him, but we were just like on our way to the car or something. But yeah, he walked right by us. I don't know if you even remember that or not, but
Yeah.
we did. Okay, and the other birthday today is linebacker Von Miller. He turns 35 years old today. Played his college football at Texas A&M, was the second overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft by the Denver Broncos. He played 12 NFL seasons so far. He was with the Broncos from 2011 to 2021, was traded to the LA Rams during the 2021 season, and then he signed with the Buffalo Bills, where he's been the last 2 seasons in 2022 and 2023, but he did miss the 2020 season due to an ankle injury. And as far as I know, he plans on playing another season this year.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yep. Okay. And let's see, obituaries. We've got 3 of them today. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Our first obituary is that of Leo Sanford, a linebacker in the NFL for 8 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 94. Sanford played college football at Louisiana Tech and was selected in the 8th round of the 1951 NFL Draft by the Chicago Cardinals. He played for the Cardinals from 1951 to 1957. Sanford finished his playing career with the Baltimore Colts in 1958 and won an NFL title with the Colts in that greatest game ever played, the 58 championship game.
Our next obituary is that of Nathaniel Dye, a guard, tackle, and end in the Canadian Football League for 8 seasons, has passed away at the age of 86. Dye played college football at Georgia. He signed with the CFL's Edmonton Eskimos in 1959 and played for the team through 1964. He was traded to the Saskatchewan Roughriders during the 1964 season and finished his playing career in Saskatchewan in 1965.
And our final obituary today is that of Carmen Cavalli, a defensive end in the American Football League, the United Football League, and the Continental Football League, has passed away at the age of 86. Cavalli played college football at Richmond and signed with the Oakland Raiders of the American Football League in 1960. He played just 1 season for the Raiders in 1960. He went on to play for the Wheeling Ironmen of the United Football League in 1962, and he also played for the Continental Football League's Philadelphia Bulldogs in 1965 and 1966. He won a league title with the Bulldogs in 1966. Yeah, we don't talk a whole lot about the original United Football League. We did a history lesson on the one from a few years ago, but was a United Football League even before that, and I don't know a whole lot about it. But
sounds like it's time to dust off that pro football researcher's hat of yours and get to work, bucko.
But I have heard of the Continental Football League, and that was kind of like a minor league of the NFL for about 10 years. A lot of players would they needed some extra time, so they would send them down to one of those teams, and they'd play there for a while, or they'd sign players from those leagues or from that league to their team. So yeah, I'm familiar with the Continental Football League, but the United Football League, not a whole lot of knowledge on that.
Well, sounds like you need to dust off a series because you did your Black History Month history lessons. Maybe you need to dust off some more leagues that were from back in the day.
Yeah,
do a stint of those.
Yep. All right, our upcoming events calendar. This Saturday, March 30th, UFL season kicks off. 2 games that day. The Birmingham Stallions at the Arlington Renegades is the early game, and the 4 o'clock game is the one we'll be at, the St. Louis Battlehawks at the Michigan Panthers. Thursday, the 25th of April through the 27th, the NFL Draft in Detroit. We are planning to be there on Saturday, the 27th.
Still got to fill out that app. I still done that.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded the app yet, but like I said, I did register.
See, I guess I still got to register.
But
yeah,
I want to have the app on my phone too, just to make sure we get in. Let's see. Also on Saturday, the 27th, the 33rd Arena Football League season kicks off. Orlando Predators at the Albany Firebirds at 8 p.m. that night on NFL Network. Let's see. And also on the 27th of April, The Women's Football Alliance season begins. Tuesday, April 30th, the CFL draft in Toronto. Friday, May 24th, the European League of Football season begins. Thursday, June 6th, the CFL regular season begins. Sunday, June 9th, the Arena Football League championship game is played in Tampa, which is weird because they don't have a team in Tampa this year.
Is that the Arena League? I don't remember. When did that announcement happen?
I just saw that on a schedule.
Wow, I didn't hear that anywhere.
Yeah, so that's what I gleaned anyway from looking at this one schedule.
Interesting.
But it's going to be in Tampa, and
they're calling it the Arena Bowl.
They didn't really say.
Dang.
Let's see. Thursday, August 1st, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, and it was just announced today. It's going to be the Chicago Bears versus the Houston Texans. Saturday, August 3rd, the 2024 enshrinement ceremonies. And Thursday, September 5th, the NFL regular season begins.
Ooh, so we'll go to Kansas City to play the Chiefs this time.
The Lions.
They won't do that 2 years in a row. And I don't think the Lions are on their schedule, but that should be interesting. Yeah. So the Chiefs hosting another season, I would assume, unless they change something up. But it's been traditionally the Super Bowl team hosts the first game.
Yeah, it's a good thing Detroit's not going to go because now they can unveil their banner with their back-to-back titles and maybe actually win the game this time against whoever they're going to be playing. We'll see. Okay. Anything else before we call this a show?
Oh, this is one of our longer shows, but I didn't see any other news. So if you want to get wrapping up, we can get wrapping up.
Let's do that. That's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in the YouTube search bar to find us. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment anywhere. We'll try to check it out. Let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation. We got a little bit of feedback from Royce last week about our kind of changing the format of the show. So I kind of like breaking up into the different leagues. Yep. It just does stink. Like we kind of were in the UFL for like less than a minute. Right. Same with another league because it was just scores.
A whole lot about those.
But at least people can jump around. That's what the timestamps are for. You want to hear us talk about a particular league? We're going to try to do our best to have a conversation about it. We want to give each league its due. It just so happens this week the NFL has taken up half the show because they came out with so much news that we had to talk about.
All today, basically.
Yeah. But, we're trying to dedicate more time to some of these other leagues.
Right.
Like especially with that LFA story about, them canceling that game. Right. So we're trying. We're always trying to improve the show.
Yeah,
so
it used to be we had all the scores up front. And then we'd jump to the news, even though we'd already talked about NFL scores, then later on we talk about the NFL news. So I think this, even though right now all of our scores are towards the end of the podcast, because as we go down league by league, the ones that are playing are
but like I said, it's also that's why we're gonna have the timestamp. So if you don't want to listen to all the NFL stuff, you already heard that. Well, guess what? You can jump and hear our thoughts on the CFL, all these other leagues we're gonna try to highlight and give their due as best as we can.
Yeah.
So
okay. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow. Now take it away, Chuck McDowell.
And we'll see you all next week.